Welcome to Byproduct Live, where we unbox everything SaaS and product. We talk with experts and leaders in SaaS and product to understand their approach to leadership and ways of working to share their knowledge and understanding. For today's episode of Byproduct Live, I'm joined by Will Smith, co-founder of Tread, the green business current account with sustainability at its heart. Tread was founded 4 years ago by Will and his business partner, Pete. And today we're going to talk to Will about Tread's journey, the recent launch of their business account, and what makes Tread special. In his free time, when he has it, Will is a keen runner and he's currently climbing every peak in the Yorkshire Dales with his dog, Mayo. He also holds the record for the world's fastest tree, which is an interesting fact. And when he was younger, he wanted to be a musician, having played the drums for 26 years. Welcome to the show, Will. How are you today?
Yeah, good, thanks. It's great to be on the podcast.
Cool. So we're going to dive into things in a second, but most important question I think today is, you play the drums, you wanted to be in a band, so if you had the choice now, which band would you want to be in?
So great questions. I think just for the amount of time on road and the places in the stardom, it would have to be with Elton John. The man is a myth and an absolute legend.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it'd probably be Elton John's band.
Yeah, cool. No, definitely a good option. Hit after hit, and he's very good live actually. Although he is knocking on a bit now. So
yeah, well, yeah, maybe in their heyday, absolutely live, unbelievable.
Yeah, cool. So let's start and dig into Tread and your journey. So to kick things off, do you want to just give us a little bit of background about Tread and why you founded the business?
Yeah, so how businesses manage their money has a massive impact on climate change, whether it is through where they hold their money or what they do with that money. And what we found is that larger banking institutions, they do two things. One is that they use customer and business deposits to loan out to other companies, and so it's not necessarily there for when a company needs it. And the second thing is quite a lot of the big providers are actually using that money to invest in fossil fuels. More and more businesses are waking up to that fact. And so what Tread does is we don't do that. And so we have 100% fossil fuel free current accounts, which means that businesses, their finances and their current account are actually supporting and in line with the values of that business.
Yeah.
That's one half of the product. And then the second thing is that more and more businesses, and specifically small businesses, are being asked to produce carbon impact reports, sustainability reports, either because they're going for government tenders, they're going for grant applications, or they're in a supply chain of a larger business. And it's really expensive and it's difficult to do. And so over the past 4 years, we've developed the technology to automate all of that.
Okay, cool. And I certainly know from experience, having done tenders in the past, that it's so high on companies' agendas. But as you say, the ability for smaller businesses to be able to report that is difficult without using a third-party provider. And I think that third-party provision can then become expensive as well to try and get reports from other people. So the fact it's actually bolted into the product is fantastic.
And one of the things that we found is that, the stat that I love is that if you hold £100,000 with one of the high street providers, it has the same financed emissions as about 254 flights between London and Paris. And that's just because they're investing your money and businesses' money into fossil fuel projects.
Yeah.
And it's that hidden emissions that businesses are becoming more and more aware of, as you see it in the news. You're reading about it all the time with COP and climate change news. And businesses are waking up to the fact, and they're looking for green providers, and just it doesn't exist here in the UK. And so that's kind of why we founded Tread, and that's kind of the sweet spot that we're sitting in.
Yeah, I guess unethical practices by big institutions, it's unbelievable, and it just gets swept under the carpet. It shouldn't make sense really, and they shouldn't be allowed to do it.
Yeah, we've seen we've our growing customer base at the moment. You see them there, digital marketing agencies. We've got small shops. We've got IT consultants. All these kind of businesses, and they're very sustainably minded. Or sometimes they're not sustainably minded, and they're actually just looking to become, greener and more ethical. But then when they send an invoice out, they've got Barclays on there. It just doesn't quite tally, and so more and more are coming towards us to say, actually, we want to be banking with Tread.
Yeah, cool. And From setting up the business, it's not all been kind of plain sailing since you set things up. So I think last time we spoke, you were much more in the current account space, but now you've kind of made that pivot to be more business focused. So what kind of drove that decision?
Yeah, so what we found is that we used to have a consumer product. And what we found is that actually most of our customer base was actually small business owners, either
Okay.
because they wanted to have that fossil fuel free current account or they needed to know their carbon impact. And it was always something on our roadmap because launching a product like ours is difficult and there's so many things to get right. And so we were always going to be going consumers first, then into the business space. But what we found is that most of our active customers were small business owners. And so
Yeah.
we basically decided that actually we should be focusing our efforts there. Kind of two reasons is one, it's what our customers were, and that's we should go get
Yeah.
more of. And
Yeah.
then the second one is that businesses have a much greater impact on the planet because
Okay.
they hold more funds, they're spending more money, and actually they're the ones being driven slightly more towards net zero. And so we basically ended up just shifting our priorities. So instead of doing consumers, which
Yeah.
allowed us to do all of the testing that we needed to and refine our payments technology,
Yeah.
refine those carbon calculations, but then we just shifted across into the business space slightly earlier and
Yeah.
it's been great. We've seen an amazing amount of traction with smaller businesses, and that's
Yeah.
really what our product is been catered to. It's a sort of slight extension of a consumer product,
Yeah.
but for businesses.
Yeah. And there's obviously lots of new banks out there. We've got neo banks, we've got challenger banks out there in the market. So, what do Tread provide along with the sustainability and the better for the planet? What do you guys offer beyond some of the other providers?
Yeah, so what we found is a couple of different things. So one's obviously the sustainability side, but actually I would say 95% of our customers are coming from high street providers. So, your Barclays, your HSBC. And what they find is that they feel a bit forgotten because unless you are the size of Tesco's or, PwC or something massive,
Yeah.
they don't really invest in you and they don't really care. So people are starting to feel a bit more like a number rather than a business. And
Yeah.
so what we found is personalization and actually having a person to speak to is so instrumental. And so that's kind of one of the key things. So, we offer
Right. Okay.
everyone. I meet me or Pete meet every single one of the customers that we onboard. They can put a name to a face, and that seems to really resonate with a lot of
Yeah.
customers. So there's a personal element, and then also just the technology. Legacy providers have legacy systems, and I mean, in the current account space, I'm sure most people will have either a Starling or a Monzo,
Yeah.
but in the business world, it's actually very rare that you have that same user experience, and it's just clunky. Great
Yeah.
example: I was speaking to someone the other day. They were banking with a provider. They didn't give them a debit card. Everyone needs a debit
What?
card. And then I don't know if you remember. You remember the little pin sentries that some people used to
Yeah,
use.
well, I had my business accounts with Barclays, and I could never access my business account. It was always my finance people because I could never find the pin sentry machine, so I couldn't get into any of my own business accounts. It was mental. And then you try and get a new one from them, and they won't send you one out until you return the old one. It's
It's
bonkers.
it's stuff like that which to the normal person it just seems pretty archaic, and so we're finding that obviously the sustainability is a big thing, but just simple usability and prioritizing the features that people want, making sure that you can give your payees a nickname. So we pay 3 or 4 different accounts for different reasons, all for
Yeah,
the same business, and trying to remember the sort code and account number of the right one that you're trying to pay is a
yeah,
nightmare. So you just like it's just really basic things that people are wanting that the big providers just don't do. So one is the technology, two is the personal approach, and then the other one is the sustainability side of things as well.
yeah, yeah. Cool. And I think on top of this, and I was going to ask you about at the beginning of the conversation, we spoke about obviously banks using your money without you knowing to fund things like fossil fuel projects. I was going to ask, so how does Tread kind of make sure that doesn't happen? I think that'll probably then come back to your carbon accounting product, and that would
Mm.
be part of that. I'd be right in thinking.
Yeah, so the stat that I love is so the 153 million pounds every single day is invested by the big five providers in the UK into fossil fuel projects, which is just an eye-watering amount, and it's
Yeah,
absolutely staggering. That money is from money held in current accounts. Tread takes a slightly different approach, which is we don't touch customer funds. So it is sat in a separate ring fenced account. We do not loan it to anyone. But
yeah,
what that means is two things. There's two benefits. One is that your money's always there when you need it, because if there's a run on the bank, sometimes they've loaned out all your money, and so you can't get it. Hence
yeah,
why the bank collapses.
yeah,
And then the second thing is because it's just sat there, and we can guarantee that it is not invested in harmful industries, and so it's always there when you need it. However much you have in it, it's always there for you when it's needed,
yeah,
and that's how we can guarantee that it's not into harmful industries.
yeah. Cool. And then when it comes to the element of being able to report things, this is what the carbon accounting product is for. And actually, there are lots of businesses out there where this is their kind of sole business function. So the fact that you've actually added this into your account is quite the achievement. So just talk a little bit about how that's utilized and how businesses are using it.
Yeah, so when you are so our product is perfect for typically less than 50 employees, and it's really difficult to just get on and with running the business and like it's
Yeah,
day to day, and it's really difficult to dedicate resources to calculating carbon footprints. And what we've developed over the past four years is that spending data is the most holistic way to calculate a carbon footprint, because we know where you shop,
yeah,
it can tell you how much you've spent, you know the vendor, you know the location, all of that metadata can then be used. We then push it through our algorithm that says, okay, well we've spotted you've spent this much in a fuel station. Okay, we
yeah,
know the carbon footprint of that. You spent this much on flights. This is what the carbon footprint is. And what it does is it automatically does it. So instantly, with no resource attached from a business point of view, we can then tell you what the carbon impact of that transaction is.
yeah.
There are a few elements that aren't captured by spending, which is like employee commuting, working from home now post COVID.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Everybody's got the heating on all day.
And everyone has to commute into work.
Yeah,
As we've built is we've built additional tools that sit alongside that to do it. And what the benefit for businesses is that instead of paying consultants to do it, it is absolutely perfect for reporting on scope one, scope two, scope three
yeah,
emissions. And then the thing that we're just releasing at the moment is sort of an automated report that says, here are your biggest emitters. Here are the biggest like categories. So is it travel? Is it computers, etc. And then we can then start giving you an action plan to say, here are the vendors that we would recommend. This
yeah,
is what you should be doing about it. And for a lot of use cases, so whether it's grants, it's certifications, it's B Corps, that's a really helpful and basically an automated way of you getting that process. Hasn't been easy to get to that point. A lot of
no, I can
development
imagine.
into it,
Yeah,
but businesses really resonating with businesses.
yeah, and I think alongside the reporting piece, there's a real opportunity for actionable behavioural change as well, because if businesses can get that report and break it down on an employee level, there's whilst there might not necessarily be a financial benefit, actually the um, social impact that a business can make, they're then able to manage or
Mm.
encourage their employees to behave in a different way. So I think that's surely a byproduct of that.
It is, and one thing we're actually looking at the moment is almost like employee benefits as well, which is
Yeah,
we know that the carbon emissions are from staff entertainment or whatever the thing is, and we're starting to look at partnerships now that say, actually, here's a benefit you can give to your employees that will reduce your business's carbon
yeah,
footprint, but also has a financial benefit to the individuals. The other side is that actually just by moving your money to Tread, there is a saving of carbon, because you're not holding it with fossil fuel funding banks,
yeah,
you're holding it with Tread instead. And what we're actually finding is that sustainability is becoming more and more sort of the norm way of business. But what we found is that people are using it as a really good use for growth, because they're looking to stand out in a crowded market. And so
Yeah.
more and more are turning towards sustainability. So instead of it being, oh, we do this thing and we have a sustainability agenda, it's becoming part of that brand, which helps attract more clients. It helps, win more government tenders or whatever the thing
Yeah.
is. And so it's not just better for the planet; it's also better for business, is what we're finding.
Yeah. Yeah. All really good points. And as we kind of reach a conclusion on our chat today, we always like to give our listeners some key takeaways. So we'd like you as a guest to do that. So what three key takeaways have you got for our listeners today, other than to switch their bank to Tread?
I wasn't going to say it, but thanks for the plug.
You're welcome.
I think there's kind of three takeaways, which is, green finance isn't just possible; it is such a powerful business tool. So I just know in 30 years' time, green finance is going to be the norm, whether it is
Yeah.
mortgages, loans, credit cards, and now is the time that actually it's being used as a beacon of, a beacon and a way of attracting customers. And so customers are looking for sustainable partners, companies are looking for sustainable partners, and
Yeah.
switching your current account is one of the most impactful but easiest things to do to improve your sustainability credentials and
Yeah.
start that journey towards a greener business. So that'd be number one.
Yeah.
Two is embracing change and the opportunity to take slightly different directions.
Yeah.
When we set out on the journey, we thought we were going to be a consumer-facing current account. Quickly learned that businesses have a bigger impact and they were using our products more. And so if there are things that are screaming you in the face, it's make sure that you take the direction when you take it, because
Yeah.
it might well be the right choice for you. And instead of resisting, it's kind of taking that on board. The other one is then partnerships are key.
Yeah.
So we have not built this product on our own. We partnered with MasterCard, we've partnered with lots of different providers, and I think that's crucial to both customers' success, but
Yeah.
also Tread's success as well. So there is a bit of a shout, other than opening a Tread account. Are any listeners listening and want to reach out for either partnerships or want to have a chat to me about
Yep.
the startup world or what our accounts do, then please do just reach out on LinkedIn. Find me under Will Smith, and then it's a Tread, which is TRED, rather than Tread with an A in it.
Cool. Brilliant. Look, I've really enjoyed the conversation today. It's been really interesting to find out about the business and obviously the impact that other people can make. I've got one last question before we go, and that is, how do you hold the record for the world's fastest tree?
You said you weren't going to put me on the spot. Early days, we wanted to come up with creative ways of marketing.
A bit of guerrilla marketing.
Marketing, and we have done everything. So we've done jet washing the street. I don't know if you've heard of clean graffiti.
Yeah, where you put a template on. I've seen it actually, where you put the template on the pavement and then you jet wash it in. Yeah.
So we've done jet wash stencils. But the other one was, I actually got a space on the London Marathon about 3 years ago, and I've always wanted to have a world record. And so we decided that I would run the London Marathon in a 10-foot high, unmissable tree costume with Tread blazoned above my
Brilliant.
head. And so, so it got us on the BBC, it got us on ITV, it got us on so many news outlets. But yes, I also then broke the world record for the fastest marathon in a tree costume.
Can you remember what time you got?
Yeah, I did it just over 4 hours, and
that's very impressive.
Well, I thought, it was so warm, it was so hot, but it was one of the toughest things I've done, and everyone else was cheering me on. But it was amazing marketing. It was, it went down. It went down well on the social media.
Yeah, brilliant, cool. Well, thank you very much for your time today. I've really enjoyed the conversation. We'll catch up soon.
Great stuff. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Cheers, bye.
Thank you very much for listening today. We hope that you found the Byproduct podcast valuable, useful, and informative. You can subscribe on all major podcast platforms, including Apple, Spotify, and also YouTube. And if you have the time, we'd love for you to leave us a positive review. As a new podcast, this would really help us out. We'll hope to see you soon on the next episode, and thank you again.